me tell you, it's crazy, but for me, much of the time, I'd come down here to the bottom part of Patagonia, fish the Rio Grande and the Rio Gallegos, and you know, more than just the fish. And the sea trout fishing here is the greatest in the world. Really, I believe more than anything else, it's being out on that river in the evening and watching the unbelievable change of light. You guys see that? The sunsets here are spectacular. And the panorama of sky and land and water is untouched. You know, Montana is called the big sky country. Peanuts compared to this. I mean, this is really big sky country. Crazy as it may seem, this would be the place I most often say, this is where I want to go. And of course I do. If you tie 100% knot, it always breaks at the fly. Follow that? And the only 100% knot that you can be absolutely sure about is a bimini twist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip off, I want about this much tippet. What I do is double it over. You hold the two ends like this, and you go 20 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 20.
And one more for luck.
One good for good luck.
Okay.
And I put it over my knee. And you have to put it well over your knee, otherwise you lose it. I hold the two ends, and I pull this twisted part down tight. Boom, like that. What you got to do is flip it over so it goes backwards. Yeah. And now it starts winding up there. And I'm going to push this, and it's going to wind up here just like this. And the knot is done. Now I just have to secure the knot, so I'm going to hold it, put a half hitch here, and put a half hitch on the other side. Now I loop this to the butt section of my fly line, and it never breaks here. It might break down here because it gets abraded or something, but most often it breaks at the fly. So you put a new fly on, you're ready to fish again. If it breaks here, you've got to put a whole new tippet on. It's a winner.
Southern Patagonia showed an old familiar face, and the week spent at the Rio Gallegos had more rainy days than not. Bella Vista is one of the oldest ranches in Patagonia, and the first to offer fishing on the Rio Gallegos. Valerie, the manager at Bella Vista Lodge, greets Mel and provides him with a working station, so he may prepare his favorite weapon for the afternoon's fishing.
Bunny was originally, created some time ago for black bass fishing, but I've discovered that it's good for everything from tarpon to trout, and it's excellent for sea trout. Looks a little bit like the bunny I keep in my hat. This would be a bright day fly, despite the miserable weather out here. And I don't like these stray hairs, so what I generally do is even these off. These up further will lay flat against the fly. And we'll put that on the hook like so. And let's put a couple of weighted eyes on it. And I don't use a whip finish tool. I prefer my hands. And essentially, we got her done. And voila! Another bunny is tied.
What is life but a series of casts? Always trying to reach the other side, not knowing what will happen. You guess that if you're accurate, you might get what you're looking for. If you're not, well, you get to try again. What is important is that you were there. Because at that precise moment, nothing else mattered.
This guy, whose name is Miguel,
Yes.
has came from Ushuaia to meet you and to know you.
I am unbelievably flattered, my friend. You know, I feel humbled. Where do you fish? Lago Fagnano?
Me gustan más los ríos.
He prefers rivers than lakes.
Me too. Me too. A very famous writer named Roderick Haig Brown wrote a fantastic book, and the name of the book is A River Never Sleeps. I still don't know why I fish or why other men fish, except that we like it, and it makes us think and feel. But I do know that if it were not for the strong, quick life of rivers, for their sparkle in the sunshine, for the cold grayness of them under rain, and the feel of them about my legs, as I set my feet hard down on rocks or sand or gravel, I should fish less often. A river is never quite silent. It can never, of its very nature, be quite still. It is never quite the same from one day to the next. It has its own life and its own beauty, and the creatures it nourishes are alive and beautiful also. Perhaps fishing is, for me, only an excuse to be near rivers. If so, I'm glad I thought of it.
You really have no idea what it's like to be with Mel at an airport in Patagonia. It is probably the same scenario as a movie star walking through a crowded mall. And then there is Jaime Rios. He is the government's top man in charge of fishing, who wants Mel to be Argentina's spokesperson for the sport. And finally, Alejandro Di Tomaso. Another year will go by before Mel sees him again.
Recibido Maybol, puede continuar para 4-5, transición 07 en uso, el viento de los 020, 25 nudos.
The bad weather will continue on the island of Tierra del Fuego. So Mel decides to postpone his meeting with the monster browns of the Rio Grande for later and head north to the city of Bariloche. This is an opportunity to reflect on the week that has ended and look forward to the month of fishing that is still to come. Mel has a tradition. Before the first day of fishing, he hands out a talisman to all that accompany him on his journey. These must be kept on your fishing vest for eternity and should bring great fortune. The talisman are carefully selected whenever the opportunity arises. And talking about opportunity, the mayor of Bariloche, Alberto Icare, doesn't miss his to leave City Hall and greet Mel, who is the town spokesman for fly fishing and catch and release.
Y ahora lo mío es con devolución. And now he's practicing catch and release.
Ah, no, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Then, off to Baruzzi's Fly Shop, Patagonia's best. Oscar, the owner, is a longtime friend of Mel's, and this is a required stop before the afternoon's fishing in the boca of the Correntoso River.
Patagonia of crystal clear water coming down from a singing river. My rod and a challenge to entice fish with fur and feather. The truth is only one. I follow the footsteps of fly fishing. There is no other way for me. This is how I harvest fortune. Trying to improve myself, I draw pictures with my line as it flies. I also search in sleepless nights, the subtle fly to entangle, and willing to get to know the reason why fish exist. I come closer just to find a new style for growing up. I've always looked for the best way to make the struggle sweeter. Taking care of streams, forests, trout. This is how I've put together other ways to keep on rolling through this blessed ground. And I listen to brand new music that burst out from deep within. The more you experience this, the more you learn. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And before you ask for explanations, try to understand what I mean. And maybe, living every day the fly, something inside will start to change of that essence I'm talking about. I'm sure you can find it there. Day after day it will get better, not only for fish, for men or maybe animals, living underwater or swimming like ducks. You will feel they are all mated. It's Flycast that's given me this joy, and that's why I devoted this song.
In almost all fishing rivers in the world, there is always an angler, regarded as the local expert. The one which catches the most and the biggest fish. Guillermo Risigliano is just that person to the Limay. These are very technical waters, which require close to a lifetime of experience.
Poor fish, point is sharp, ready to roll.
Okay, my friend. Have a nice trip. Take care of yourself. And listen, Limay,
Don't catch all the fish.
I won't. Okay, and you got the rods here.
I got the rods there.
All right. See you.
Take care.
Have a nice trip. Bye.
Another chapter is closed, and Mel is off to Lago Verde Lodge, located 240 kilometers south of Bariloche, in the heart of the Los Alerces National Park. The fishing day starts bright and early and in very good spirits.
And that the moon up above is wonderful.
The river chosen for today is the Rivadavia. To access the river, one must row for 20 minutes, bordering the southern shore of the lake which bears the same name. As the rafts get prepared to be launched, Mel ties a dry fly and consults with his guide about the prevailing conditions. The Rivadavia is a small nymph and dry fly river. The waters are extremely clear, and the trout, they are as cagey as a Yucatan permit. A float down the Rivadavia is one of those pleasures in life that every angler should experience at least once. You may not catch a lot of fish, but you will see them all. And when you finally land one, it will only be because you've earned it.
I remember a little of the Rivadavia. I remember catching a few fish, but seeing hundreds of beautiful fish and thinking that it was one of the most beautiful rivers I had ever seen. It looks like nothing has changed here in the past 25 years. But did you see that monster fish I caught this morning? That thing, I will tell you this, it was less than 5 kilos.
For sure.
Much less. The two rivers I think of in terms of beauty here, believe it or not, are the Traful and the Rivadavia. I have not had that kind of success on this river yet, but we have the afternoon. This is a little poem that I wrote called Fishing. Fairy tales of man and moods and trout, lands and waters, care and cause without, quixotic games, and a river's chuckling sound, to solitude and love, where self is found.
Patagonia is known for many things, but when it comes to dining, 2 words, Cordero Patagónico. Yes, the best lamb in the world. Cooked for over 4 hours, the meat literally melts in your mouth. At dinner, a surprise awaits the group as guide Raúl San Martin joins the table. Raúl is not only a friend, but also a pioneer of angling in the Esquel region. After a few hours of sleep, Mel awakens to a glorious day on the shores of Lago Verde. Himself and his angling companion are en route to Lake Menendez.
It was probably 25 years ago that I came here. Raúl San Martin, we hired him. We came down, we fished in Rivadavia, we fished in a different area. And one day, we came here. We left Esquel. We drove and drove and drove. We got in a boat, we crossed the lake, we got to some kind of an island, and then we walked across the island about, what is it, about a mile?
Yeah, something
about a mile. The oxen pulled the boat over. We got in, I think he had a 20-horse outboard or something. It took us 2 hours to get up to the headwaters. We wound up fishing that day, about 1 or 2 hours.
Yeah, and came back.
And the transportation, you know, I don't know how many hours, 8 or 10 hours.